welcome back to the Untitled Chapter channel. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Lorient.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be doing a Q&A for you guys because I asked over on my Instagram what you guys wanted to see from us first, a Q&A or our proposal story, because we had a few requests to do that a couple months back and we haven't gotten around to it. And by a landslide, Q&A won. So
let's do it.
I asked you guys to submit your questions and you sent in a lot of them and a lot of really good ones. So hopefully this isn't too long of a video. We're gonna try to be clear and concise because we're a little chatty. I'm a little chatty.
Very chatty.
So because this is an anything goes Q&A, like the questions range from like questions just for you, questions just for me, questions about family building, all the things. And I didn't want to like bounce around from topic to topic. So I went through and organized all of the questions and broke them down. So let's just get into it. All right, so the first category we're gonna cover are just questions for you.
Okay.
So the first question is, how do you feel about documenting your life on YouTube?
I don't mind because as I get older, I could go back and look at it and it's cool. It's like a photo album, but not a photo album.
And also like documenting our lives, like, yeah, but also like, no, because there's so much of our day-to-day lives that like you don't see on here. We only vlog when we feel like it. We're not daily vloggers. Like there's
vlog like once a month.
Yeah, I mean, what we show on here is probably like 10% of our actual lives. So
if that, maybe 5.
So the next question for you is, what products do you use to style your hair?
I use L'Oreal Studios for the gel part.
The clean gel?
Clean gel. And I also use hairspray, any kind of hairspray.
Uses whatever I buy, and I buy the Tresemme like Stronghold hairspray. So that's what he uses.
So nothing too
And then
fancy.
he uses like a blow dryer to like torch it and get that beautiful shape that he has.
That's right.
So many compliments on Mike's hair. He really does have beautiful hair.
Well, thank you. Right now it's not very nice. I have a hat on, so.
It's still cute. So the last question for you is, what do you do for a living?
I work for the railroad.
Works on the railroads.
I
mean, it's a good job. It's a great job. It's a scary job.
It can be scary at
It can be really scary. It's dangerous. I mean, anytime you're working out on railroad tracks, he's on the actual tracks. But yes, it's a good job, but it can be a very dangerous job.
Yes.
Okay, so now my questions. What dye do you use to get your hair so red? So I use the L'Oreal High Color Highlights. So there's High Color Highlights and then there's just High Color, which I think is like the regular dye, but it just doesn't get your hair as bright as the one called L'Oreal Highlights. So that's what I use. I just put it all over with like 40 vol developer and I just let it do its thing. Next one is, I love your style. Where do you shop for clothes and stuff? So thank you. And I shop everywhere. I shop all over the place. So I love,
you do a lot of shopping.
I do. So I love Nordstrom for like better quality pieces, but I also love shopping at Target and I love shopping at places like Marshall's, but also like ASOS online, Nasty Gal online, Misguided, like all kinds of places really. And I just kind of mix, and I like to mix high-end and low-end. I really like high-end accessories like bags, sunglasses and stuff like that because I feel like they're statement pieces, but I like wear those with like, you know, a $15 like clearance Target sweater. So I woke up from his nap, so Mike went to go grab him. I will finish up the questions that are just for me while he's doing that. Next question for me is, what lashes do you wear? So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like 90% of the time if you see me wearing false eyelashes, they are the magnetic ones from Moxie Lash. The lashes magnetized to the liner. So you put the liner on and then you just pop the lash on top of it and then you just take it off at the end of the day. I really love these. I have tried others. The liner irritated my eyes. This, I don't have that problem because I am a contact lens wearer. And so these work great and they stay on really, really well throughout the day, and so I am a fan of the Moxie Lash. I mean, they're expensive, but you can reuse them multiple times. This last one I put in mind because I didn't really know where to put it, but I guess it's kind of for both of us, and it's how did you get started with YouTube? So I got started on YouTube originally back in like 2006 or 7. I was 16 or 17 years old. YouTube was relatively new. We were all watching Charlie the Unicorn and Salad Fingers and all of the greats back in the day. And I came across the beauty community, and it was very new and it was very like just chill. You just kind of turned on your camera and talked about makeup, and I was really into that at the time. And so I started making videos there. I think my channel name was Smurfy Love 2. Hi guys, there are a lot of you that messaged me on Instagram like, I used to follow you back when you were like 16, and I think it's crazy that I accidentally came across this new channel, so welcome, happy to have you here. But yeah, I did that for a while. I left it when I went to college. It was really too much for me to maintain. And I've kind of come back and forth with having like YouTube channels over the years. When we decided to start our adoption journey, we were like, we want to document this because we didn't feel like there were enough people sharing like the highs and the lows and being really transparent. We were seeing a lot of like gotcha day videos and like placement videos, and it just made everything seem so like non-messy, and that's just like not the case. If you know our adoption journey, it was messy and it was hard, and so we wanted to document that and share that and be real about that, and then also have that for us to look back on and for our child to see like what we went through to become a family. And so that's kind of how we got into this channel. So next category is relationship stuff. Okay. So first question is, how did we know that each other was the one?
I think when you spend a lot of time with each other, you just feel it.
Yeah, I know. I've been asked this before. Like, how did you know Mike was the one? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. You just, you just know that you really, really love being with that person, and you enjoy all the time that you spend with them. And even in the bad times, you want to be with that person. You know, like, even when I'm mad at Mike, like, I still want to be around Mike. Also, you just realize you don't want to be without that person.
When you come across a fine catch such as myself, it's like pretty evident, you know?
He needs to go away. All right, so the next question is, what is our favorite thing about each other and our favorite thing about being parents?
Well, my favorite thing about you is how funny you are and how we get along and how many things we have in common with each other.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take the funny.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Mike. My favorite thing about Mike is...
I know, there's so many.
He really is the most supportive partner ever, like, in the world. Like, if you ever taken the Enneagram test, I'm an Enneagram 7. So basically, I am like spontaneous, and I'm flighty, and I'm like all over the place all the time. I constantly have new ideas, and before I've even kind of finished working on what I was like passionate about last week, I have a whole new like idea and plan. And that would drive a lot of people crazy, and a lot of people would be like, sit down and finish. Mike is literally like, you want to do that now? All right, let's figure out how to make it happen. Like, that's him. How can I help you? How can I support you in making that happen? That literally means the world to me as somebody who's like constantly like thinking of new ideas and wanting to do new things and try new things and start new projects. Like, to have a partner that's just like, yeah, I'm behind you, let's do it. Like, that's everything.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, and then our favorite thing about being parents, I don't know, just being parents. Honestly, everything about it. I mean, yes, there are hard moments, but even the hard moments are like awesome. Yeah, even the hard moments are like really awesome. So the next question is, have you and Mike ever faced discrimination for being different ethnicities? So it doesn't happen a ton, but it does happen. It has happened in the past, like random comments like online where I'm called a racial slur, or like Mike is asked why he's dating this racial slur, stuff like that. People of the same ethnicity or cultural background have asked me like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I like men my own kind? You know, which is just ridiculous.
There's nothing wrong with them. I'm just pretty dope.
I don't know. I guess things like that happen. We live in a really like culturally and racially diverse area, so it's not uncommon to see couples like us, or you know, couples that are black and white. Like, that's not abnormal here. So we don't face it a ton. And most of what we have faced has been online. So now we're gonna get into the family building category. I think this is where we have the bulk of questions. The first question is, did you guys both want a baby the same amount? I can't imagine a man wanting a baby as much as, I guess, a woman. Okay. So initially, no, it was not the same. We had agreed before we got married that we were gonna wait like 2 years to have a conversation about expanding our family. But baby fever hit me like a ton of bricks like a month after the wedding. And Mike was just like, no.
Well,
not yet.
Going back to it not being a man not wanting a baby as much as a woman, I think it depends on the person, and it depends on their mindset. See, at that time, my mindset was not about having a baby. It was about enjoying our marriage. It was about traveling and doing stuff like that. But then once my mind has then moved on to baby, that's all I wanted was a baby.
Yeah, but I also think that like our journey to that was, I mean, it's the same as many others, but not everybody's, in the sense that, you know, we then experienced difficulty getting pregnant and then ultimately found out that we had infertility issues. And so I think once we got to that point, it was like, wait, I want a baby now. We can't have a baby, and now all I want is this baby. All I want to do is expand our family, and we're having all of these problems.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely think it depends on your mindset and where you are in life. I don't think I've ever addressed this on this channel. I have talked about how infertility was really hard on us, how infertility really like did a number on our relationship, on our marriage, that we had to work really hard on. I don't really ever talk about like specifically what that was, but I'll address it now just because I think it could be helpful to a lot of people, and I think it kind of pertains to this question a little bit.
Right.
One of the struggles that we had was that every month when we would find out that I wasn't pregnant, I would kind of get depressed and I would go into this downward spiral. And Mike was a lot better at just like being like, okay, it's not this month, and carrying on. And that behavior made me feel like I was the only one that wanted this baby, and that he like genuinely didn't care if we had this baby or not.
Yeah, that's not true.
And it wasn't true. It's just how he handled things versus how I handled things.
Right.
And so that's why communication, because that was one of the biggest struggles. We had so many arguments where I was like, you don't even want this, you don't care, like, and
you were just very emotional.
And I was very emotional, and it wasn't the case. And so communicate with your partner. The next question is, how long did it take you to look into infertility as something that you guys were experiencing? About 2 years, a little over 2 years. I would say like 2 years and like 3 months to be exact. So we started trying to conceive December 2015. And in like February or March of 2018 is when we went to go see a fertility specialist. But we knew we had a problem long before we went to the fertility specialist, like long before. Yeah. After that first year, we were like, yeah, something's wrong. And so it just took us a really long time to kind of get there, and finally going to a fertility specialist and seeking that help is a really like hard and personal decision. And it just took us a really long time to like get our lives together and get ourselves together mentally to prepare for that. So the next question is, how long after trying to conceive did you wait before you started the process to adopt?
Probably about a year.
It was a year. Yeah. Like I said, we went to that fertility specialist in 2018, either in February or March, and we started the process of our home study in March 2019. So yeah, like almost a year later. Talked about this before. We have a whole video about why we went to adoption over infertility treatments. I will link that up top for you guys if you're interested in seeing that. But basically in that video, I just talked about how like I wasn't ready to start infertility treatments. I wasn't there yet, mentally, physically. And adoption has always been something that I have been interested in. I just didn't really know a whole lot about it, and I didn't know what kind of adoption I would want. And so like slowly it started to creep back in my mind, and it was like, well, maybe this is the time, maybe this is what you should be doing. And I would do research here and there and bring it up to Mike, and you know, it took us a little while to get on the same page, and I think rightfully so, because I think timing is everything, and I think the time when we started and how everything ended,
we made the right decision.
We made the right decision, and that's why it took as long as it did for both of us to get on the same page and do the right research and find the right agency. And also, you know, a lot of couples come to adoption from infertility, but they're really two totally separate things. And adoption doesn't fix infertility. You still have that issue. That's still there. That's still something you have to mourn, and it takes time to mourn and grieve that. And be sad about that, and you should never just like jump into the other from one, because again, you really do need to heal from one before you can really dedicate yourself to the adoption process. So if infertility treatments don't work out, will you adopt again?
Absolutely.
Yes. Even if infertility treatments do work out, we likely will pursue adoption in the future. Yeah. Next question is, will you be adopting again in the near future? I don't really know what qualifies as like the near future. I know we want to adopt again in the future, but in our like what's coming up next for us video, we kind of talked about how I think our next course of action is to go back to a fertility specialist, a different one, and try to get a real diagnosis and see if it's possible for us to conceive and carry and deliver. Whether that be, you know, biological child or whether that be an adopted embryo, like we don't know. We're gonna find out when we get there.
Honestly,
but yeah, we will adopt again in the future. Next question is, was the adoption expensive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really no other way to put it.
It's like the simplest way to put it. Adoption is expensive. Between the legal expenses, and if you have, you know, a consultant or an agency and all of the things, it can get very expensive. I think the least expensive way is to do it is to adopt from the foster care system is the least expensive way to do it, but there are other risks involved in that. But I mean, you know, it's pricey, but obviously it's worth it. And there are grants that you can apply for, there are fundraisers that you can do, there are things that you can do to help reduce the cost. But yeah, it's unfortunately it's really expensive, and it should not be as expensive as it is, but that's like a whole other topic for like a whole other day. Next question is, will you adopt me? This is from my best friend. Absolutely, but you'd have to share a room with Josiah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't snore, but he does wake up periodically and just like talk to himself in the middle of the night.
A blow-up mattress down.
Do you think it's more of a risk to foster to adopt than it is to just straight adopt? I don't know like a ton about fostering to adopt. I only know what I know from articles that I've read, from people that have been through it, that I've spoken to, and things like that.
Not very educated on it.
I'm not super educated on it, but I will say it is something that we looked into when we were starting our adoption journey, like how we wanted to adopt, and we did look into fostering to adopt. The reason that we decided not to was because a lot of the risks involved. Don't get me wrong, straight adoption, domestic infant adoption, domestic adoption of an older child, they all have risks. There's always something that could happen and just flip the script and things just change, and you can end up heartbroken. Absolutely. I just think that in foster care, when like the state is involved and there's just a lot of things that happen, you know, as hard as the disrupted adoption was with the twins and losing them 2 days after, you know, leaving the hospital with them, I can't imagine having a child in my home for 2 years and dedicating my life to that child and loving that child and hoping to be able to adopt them and then losing them. I personally feel like straight adoption is like a little less risky. How soon will you be adding baby number 2 to the family?
Well, I think we have a few things that we'd like to put in place before we move on and start adding more to the family. I
mean, yeah, and the way that timeline looks, which is, you can't really make a timeline, honestly. We've kind of learned that. Like, you plan and God laughs. Yeah. But, you know, we are looking to get a bigger home so that we have space. Right now, we're in a 2-bedroom house. It's just like, it's tiny here. We're running out of space with all of Josiah's stuff. I can't imagine, like, toddler stuff and then baby stuff in here, too. It just would be way too much. So hopefully sometime after we get a bigger place, which we're hoping happens within the next year and a half, 2 years at most. Right. But then again, we're trying infertility treatments and we don't know how long that's going to take. So the process is truly a process. If by some miracle of God, though, we got pregnant next month, we would be elated. Like, it would be fine.
Yeah.
We talk all the time about how, like, if it happened, we would be ready right now. Right. Like, we would love to have another baby. Honestly, Josiah is like the world's most amazing baby. If every baby could just be like him, that'd be great. I know that's not going to be ever the case, but he gives you baby fever. Like, if you've ever been around him, he would give you baby fever
immediately.
Do you still want 4 kids total?
I think we upped the number. Me, I guess in the beginning 4, but after having him, I'm like, well, why even put a number on it? Whatever we get, whatever we're blessed with, we're blessed with.
So, pump the brakes there, Mr. Toll. When I met this man, he wanted 2 kids.
That's it.
2, that's it. And he was in no rush to have them. I've always wanted 4 kids. And we compromised at 3. He was like, fine, I'll go up 1 if you come down 1. We met in the middle at 3, and that's where we were. After Josiah came home, he said, let's do it. Let's have 4. I said, sounds good. Everything I've ever wanted.
Right.
All the time now, this man is like, ups the number. Every like other day, he ups the number of how many children he wants.
Yeah.
I think he would have like 10 if God allowed us.
Maybe
but
more. I don't really
He's
want.
changing all of those diapers. Listen, my goal is 4. Okay, if we had 4, and again by some miracle of God I got pregnant, or like a situation came to us to adopt children, whether they were infants or older children or whatever, and the situation felt right and right for our family, and we had the resources, we would do it. But I think I max out at like 6, guys. Like I max out at 6. Josiah has all the things that make noise now, and he loves them. So I'm sorry you're gonna hear those for the rest of the video because he's in his playpen just hanging out. I feel like he should be here though because this next category is Josiah questions, but we're not gonna interrupt him because he's having a good time.
Yes, he is.
So how did you come up with his name? I think we talked about this before in the like meet our son video, but basically we had a different name picked out. We used it when we were matched with the twins, and then after that situation didn't work out and we couldn't use that name anymore, and so we started looking for names again. We don't really agree on very much, so hard, but we knew this time around we wanted the name to have like this significant meaning to us. And when I was looking up names, I came across Josiah, or Josiah but spelled with an S, and it means God heals. And I really loved that meaning because after everything that we had been through with, you know, 2 failed adoptions, 1 being a failed match and 1 being disruptive placement, it felt like if this situation worked out, if this was in fact our baby, this would finally be God healing us of all of the things that we had to go through to get to this point. And so it just felt right. So his full name is Josiah Jude. Jude is a mixture of things, St. Jude, but also my mother's name is Judith and my stepfather's middle name is Jude, and they were like very key people in our adoption journey and us being able to bring Josiah home. This next question is, what ethnicity is Josiah? So this is something I've never talked about on here before. I don't really know why I've never addressed it. It's one of the things that I constantly am thinking about is, as an adoptive parent, is like, what are things that I can share as his mother, and what are things that are not for me to talk about, they're his to talk about. Right. And so ethnicity is one of those things I went back and forth with for a little bit, but I kind of came to terms with the fact that like his ethnicity is just part of who he is, and it's something that we hope that he grows up very proud of. And in order to make sure that's the case, we have to talk about it, and we have to, you know, acknowledge those traditions and, you know, those customs, and make him proud of those things about himself. So I'm okay talking about it now. I've kind of like had to just do some thinking about it, and this is kind of where I've landed. I've also gotten some comments whenever I talk about transracial adoption on my like Instagram stories. People are like, okay, but you never address the fact that your son is biracial. My son's not biracial. Josiah is actually 75% Puerto Rican and 25% Mexican, and I'm 50% Puerto Rican. So I don't know that I necessarily consider Josiah's adoption a transracial one. I mean, maybe a little bit because Mike is white, but
if you guys didn't know, I'm white.
But so maybe he's a partial transracial adoptee. I don't really know how that gets broken down. I don't really like to throw that title out there because there are full transracial adoptees, and I don't ever want to take that away from them. So I don't ever put that label on it. But to me, Josiah and I share ethnicity, we share culture. And so there are things that he won't miss out on because I can teach them to him. I mean, I don't speak fluent Spanish. I speak a little bit, and I teach him what I know here and there. And my father speaks Spanish, and hopefully he can talk to him in Spanish, and that'll be a thing. We want him to be bilingual. As far as the Mexican part of his culture, there are things that we're researching all the time so that we can make sure that he knows about that side of himself, and that he can embrace that and culturally feel comfortable, and, you know, can walk in a room with his peers who are culturally similar and can have conversations with them about that culture as well. Sorry, we're back. Somebody had a little meltdown during playtime and needed to hang. So the next question is, do you ever fear that Josiah will be closer to his bio family than to your family?
No. Because we're pretty close to them as is.
Yeah, we love them. I mean, it would be a dream. honestly, for us, if Josiah grew up and was close with them. That would be like the best case scenario, honestly, for us. And I kind of just feel like his bio family is an extension of our family, and so
we're just
it's
one
all
big
just
family.
It's all just family. It just looks really different to the rest of the world.
Right.
Does Josiah's birth mom watch your channel? I don't know. I know that she knows about the channel. I don't know if she watches it or how regularly she watches it. Next question is, what does open adoption look like with Josiah's bio family? Will they have like annual visits? So right now, because he's a baby and he can't communicate with anybody on his own, we do all of the communication. So I speak with his biological mother, and we talk, I would say probably at least once a week. And as far as annual visits go, I don't know. I'm honestly following his bio family's lead here.
We're open
because I'm open to literally just about anything. But I'm following their lead because we're not the ones that have had to do healing in this, right? Like, we got everything our hearts ever wanted when she placed Josiah in our arms. They're the ones that made a really, really difficult decision and now are healing from that and moving forward. And so I don't ever want to push anybody to do something that they might not be ready to do or anything like that. So I very much follow his bio family's lead on that. If they want to do annual visits, we would be so open to that. If they wanted to do FaceTime calls weekly, I'd be open to that. I mean, we're really open to so much and many levels of openness. Now getting into the family life category, I'm gonna let you answer the first question.
Let's hear it.
Are you guys getting any more dogs?
No. Absolutely not. Not until 2 of these dogs pass.
Terrible to talk about. Yeah, I think we're good on dogs for now. We love all of our dogs, but we're not like the best dog trainers. So like our dogs kind of do whatever the heck they want, and it's a lot. It's exhausting. We're good on dogs for now. Although my dream one day is to have like enough land and space to like own like a Chihuahua sanctuary.
I mean, if we had enough land, like if we had acres, then sure.
That's like my dream, to have a Chihuahua sanctuary. Like when I retire, that's like what I want to dedicate the rest of my life to. When I like retire and my children are older, I'm just going to like live with dogs and take care of dogs all the time. But for now, we good. Next question is, do you plan to always live in New Jersey? I'm gonna let you take that away.
Yes, for the most part, unless we find a nice house the state over.
By state over, he means Pennsylvania. I don't know that I'm willing to go to Pennsylvania. There's nothing wrong with Pennsylvania. It's a lovely place. And every time I look at houses there, I'm like, well, that's a beautiful home. And it looks like a nice area. But we live in a great area, guys, in New Jersey. I mean, we're like not far from the beach. We're not far from the city. Like, it's a good spot. When we were engaged, and we were having trouble finding work here after I graduated and everything else, we talked about moving to North Carolina, where it was obviously cheaper to live. And our families had like a fit about it. I don't know that it's possible at this point because we love being close to our family, especially now that we have our son. So I don't think so. I mean, I think if we like left and moved like states and states away, it would have to be because like you got a fantastic job opportunity, and like we'd have to convince like one of our moms to like move with us. So I
think for the most part we'll be in New Jersey.
We'll likely be in New Jersey. This next one is kind of for me. It's how do you balance being a productive worker while caring for your son? I don't want to mislead anybody. I do get help like 2 to 3 days out of the week. And so that is very helpful. But the rest of the time I am alone with Josiah. At first it was a lot easier because he didn't really do a whole lot. Now he is kind of like on the move. And so it's a little bit more difficult, but I really just try to like cut myself slack and just like do the best I can at both, and just know that like I'm never gonna be perfect at both. And luckily I work for a company and I have a boss that's really understanding of like everything that I have going on at home, as well as at work. So that is very helpful. But you know, the times when he's preoccupied, when he's busy, if he's drinking a bottle, if he's playing independently, if he's napping, whatever, like I just really try to go into hyperdrive during those times and just really try to get as much done as I can. And even when he is awake, sometimes I can really kind of power through things with him on my lap. If he's just chill, kind of like how he is now, I can type with him on my lap. Anything I have to do to like kind of keep him calm while I can still get work done, I do. But you know, if it's a day where I feel like I've had to stop a lot to like tend to him, if he's having a lot of meltdowns, I just try to log back on for work after I put him to bed. Like I'll spend family time once Mike gets home, and we'll do dinner together, and we'll feed him, we'll do bath time, story time, and then bedtime. And then I'll sit down with Mike, and while Mike is watching something on TV, I'll just be like answering emails or trying to get some extra work done, just so that I know that like I've sufficiently done what I needed to do for that day. How do you divide up household responsibilities? So we don't really do gender roles in this house. It's not something that we do. I think the way we divide up responsibilities is just like who's good at what. So like I cook and Mike doesn't, because Mike is not really the greatest cook. But what Mike,
make a good breakfast.
I was gonna say, but what Mike can do is breakfast. He's good at like, you know, he can make up some bacon, some eggs, and so like on the weekends, Mike will do breakfast. As far as cleaning goes, I can clean. I just really don't enjoy doing it, and it really kind of makes me a miserable person to have to clean. And a lot of the times when I would clean very early in our marriage, this one would come up right behind me and like re-clean because it wasn't to his standards. So I just said, you know what? I'm not gonna clean then. And so I do clean. It's not like I don't ever pick up anything or like clean anything, but he does the bulk of the cleaning. But
you're good at organizing.
I do bathrooms, and I am better at organizing than Mike is. So if something needs to be organized, a drawer, a closet, or whatever, I do enjoy doing that, and I do that. But as far as like, you know, the vacuuming and the glass cleaning and the floor polishing, like Mike does all of that. That was a really long-winded way to say that like we break up responsibilities just based on who is good at that particular thing. Okay guys, so that is it. That's all the questions. That was a lot of questions.
That was a good amount.
It was a good amount of questions. You guys really came with it this time.
Sure
so thank you guys for everybody that submitted a question. Hopefully we got to everybody's. I don't think we missed anybody's question. You know, but if there's anything we didn't talk about that you want to know, you can always DM me on Instagram and I'll message you back, or you can leave a comment down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up. It really helps out our channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more content from us in the future, and we will see you guys in our next video. Bye.
Bye.